Uh, you know they be loving the way. You know they be loving the way. You know they be loving the way.
I'm excited about
Know
what
they
we
be loving
did
the
this
way.
season as far as the leaps we made. See, I know what it takes to rebuild. Did mad rebuilds on 2K, fam.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Expert at it.
Yeah, actually, we need that, bro. 'Cause I feel like we've been rebuilding for years.
No, I think
Nah.
we've been right on point. What you
Okay.
do when you rebuild, you have to first start dumping large salaries and start gathering draft picks. That's
Okay.
what you do. And you make your team young. You get a lot of guys under the age of 25. 25 is the mark.
Yeah.
I say the same thing in football too.
Yeah, I was gonna say not everybody can rebuild like the Texans, but
Yeah. Here, when it come down to the Rockets, I don't think we have that guy. We got potential guys who are that guy that we drafted, but once you collect all these draft picks, you draft young players, you bring in young players from the market, then you put veterans around them, which is where we were last offseason when Ime Udoka reached for Dylan Brooks. Remember how upset I was about that
You
deal?
did not like you did not like that.
And Fred Van Vliet.
I like Fred VanVleet though. I like him.
What's his name? Uncle Jeff.
Mhm.
All the older guys that got brought into the team to create a culture under the watchmanship of Ime Udoka.
Yeah.
That's part of the rebuild, which would mean that if I'm correct, the next part of the rebuild is now, after all of this time, to analyze the young players. You now want to take the assets that you have, the young players that don't necessarily fit the build or that you think you can upgrade their positions.
Yeah.
You take them and some of the extra draft picks you have, and you trade them. You go big fish hunting.
Yeah.
You go out there and you trade them for a person that you can that fits your culture, that you can also build the team around.
So I feel like you're saying that we don't really see a significant jump in the draft. Maybe more.
No,
maybe,
not at this point.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's okay.
Not at this point, but that's what I got to say about the rebuild. As far as how the Rockets did this year, what you thinking?
I mean, I like the way we look. I feel like there was a lot of steps back, but I do feel like you said it's a rebuild. It's rebuild.
We finally won 40 games.
Yeah, finally. It still just looked grimy. Like he was just trucking through it. Besides the Jalen Green stint where he was just on a
Towards
tear.
the end of the season.
Which was great because Şengün went down and it's like, okay, what's going to happen next?
It's funny because when that information came out about him and the Instagram chick,
Oh, yeah.
Drea Michelle, I can't believe I forgot her name. When the information came out about him and Drea Michelle and everybody's debating age and all this nonsense on Facebook,
Yeah.
I looked at it like, yo, this is a distraction. And you ain't putting up enough buckets to make this kind of distraction.
Yeah.
When we bring you up, we talking about you and Josh Christopher dry humping. We talking about black fingernail polish. We talking about
everything.
2 baby mamas at the same time in the Instagram model, yo. Where is the basketball in this situation? And I was the first one. I was like, look, he might need to go.
Yeah.
This kind of distraction, and then all of a sudden it was like days after I said that he started taking off.
Yeah, balling.
I'm talking about balling out of control. I'm glad we were past the trade deadline when I was kicking all that nonsense.
You would have definitely came up off of Jalen Green, bro.
What matters is that the distraction that you cause, the downside to having you on the team can never outweigh the upside. Your play has to outweigh that for people to deal with you, for teams to want to deal with you. And that's how it's always been.
Yeah.
If you're a big enough asset, they'll deal with you. Kyrie Irving gets to stay in the league because of how skilled he is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if Kyrie Irving's if what he was doing was, I'm gonna just throw a name out there, a role player, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, great role player, right? The perfect dude you want on your team. But if his distractions were to the same extent as Kyrie's over the last few years, minus these last two, there's no way he's still in the league.
Yeah, 100%.
You mean Jewish people don't like him? Yeah, no. You ain't skilled enough to get past that. That's my point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The distractions are a big deal. I think Jalen's past that. I hope. I think he's growing up, but I do think he needs some veteran leadership around him because we got a really young team. Our team's super young.
Well, let's go back to Jalen Green in a bit because there's more on Jalen Green as we talk about personnel, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the salary cap breakdown. So the Rockets, as of right now in this offseason, are negative $23 million. over the salary cap, and these are all decimal numbers. So you're gonna hear me talk about rough estimate, rough numbers,
Yeah, take us to
rounded
school.
numbers.
Take us to school real quick.
So the Houston Rockets are over the salary cap by 23 mil, but it's not because they're spending a lot of money on active players. These guys have a $17.6 million cap hold. Now, a cap hold is put on the team. The one that I'm talking about is put on the team when they reach the end of the season and they have guys that they have rights to re-sign, or they have guys that they have team options on.
Okay.
Which means that I believe player options. Players that have a player option also count against it, but I don't think this accounts for them. I don't think this number accounts for all of them, because some of them you already know we gonna keep them.
So that number's inflated, I feel like you're saying.
No, the number could be higher is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
One of these guys that has a player option decides to opt in, well then that number counts against the salary cap too. So why does that matter? That matters because that 17.6 million cap holds includes $12 million in salary holds. This is like 6 or 7 players that we have the rights to re-sign before anybody else can get to them. That are technically free agents right now, and then 5.7 million for our draft cap hold. Now, we are technically into the luxury tax when it comes to this number. So, are you familiar with the luxury tax?
Wow, man, yeah.
The luxury tax is the extra penalty that you pay when you go over the hard salary cap. So let's say the hard salary cap is somewhere around $160 million. That's everybody's salary for the year combined. Can't go over that $160 million, or it can go over that 160. But the more you go into that 160, or the more you go over, the higher you pay in what's called a luxury tax.
Okay.
So you'll get penalized. For example, I want to say it was the Warriors, either the Warriors or the Celtics this year. They were over the salary cap by $100 million. They were into the luxury tax by $100 million in order to keep their team together, because they believed they had a chance at the championship. So that's why you would go into the luxury tax, is if you think you have to keep a squad together to win the title.
Yeah, so you pay the penalty and just keep rolling.
Exactly. Now the luxury tax includes 2 thresholds. One is called the first apron, and the second is called the second apron. The first apron is you hit the first apron. We're gonna hit in $30 million. So we have a certain luxury tax penalty until we get through the first apron.
I got you.
Then once we hit the first apron, that's going to increase. Once we get past the second apron, which we are $41 million away from, then it's going to increase more, but it's going to make it even harder to keep a team together that you're paying a large amount of money to, right?
I got you. I'm following you.
That's why this stuff is important. So negative 23 over the cap gives us only a little bit of leeway, but when you look at the fact that 17.6 million of that is cap holds, then it looks like there's one player whose salary might cover that $6 million shortcoming that puts us back into under the salary cap threshold, under the hard cap.
Gotcha.
So it means that we got a little wiggle room, and we got some contracts that we can move in order to make things happen. Now, if I'm correct, and we're at a point in the rebuild where it's time to move guys to acquire a big fish, then I think we got some leeway to do so. But I don't think it happens without getting rid of Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet represents 30% of our overall cap. He has 2 years left. He's our highest paid player, and next year his salary is gonna be $43 million.
So,
yeah. But I think it was for a reason. When Ime Udoka came in, it looks like he had input on the guys that he wanted to set the culture that he needed. And Fred VanVleet seems to have been a big part of that.
You can see that on the court. I mean, you can see he is a leader.
His veteran presence. A veteran that can still give you starters minutes, right?
Yeah, I just need him to control Jalen a little bit more. Tell that boy to stay at home.
Although I agree with you, I think that what we need is a higher leverage point guard. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think that Fred VanVleet is good, but I don't think we should have him for 3 years. I think the first year was good enough to set the tone. As long as we leave Uncle Jeff there and Dylan Brooks, because I completely flip-flopped on Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks now? Well, I like what he does for the team. I'm not going to say I'm a fan of him because I still don't like him personally. He always poking at Braun, and
good.
you know he's a lesser player.
We need that dog, though.
Yeah. That's why I say what he does for the team is good, but that doesn't make me like him. That just means I completely flip-flopped on my opinion of them signing him at 4 years, $80 million.
I got you.
So I don't think we get the big fish without Fred VanVleet going off the books. The problem is you can't just cut him. At $43 million, you have to trade that contract. Yeah. And because he's so highly paid, it makes it way harder to trade that contract. So that's going to be one of the struggles. Navigating the salary cap based on players that we have that cover parts of the salary cap. Next to Fred VanVleet is Dylan Brooks on the salary cap, who has 3 years left on his deal. Next year, his salary is going to be about $22 million, which will cover about 16% of the overall cap. I'm okay with that. You all right with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm cool with that.
Based on what he brought, he became a really good three-point shooter on our team too.
Yeah, he's bringing some presence that we needed. I like him a lot. I like him. My favorite right now is Amen, though. I like Amen Thompson.
Amen Thompson? Amen Thompson. I didn't put his numbers here because because since he's still on that. Now, when you get drafted, there's a rookie scale. There's a set number that you're gonna make based on what position you get drafted at, and it's typical for that number to jump up a little bit every single year as the league is profitable.
Of course.
But there is a set number, which means Amen Thompson is still on that rookie deal.
Yeah, we good.
He's got 3 years left. 2 more, I believe, are salaried years, and the last one would be a team option, which is what's normally the case with rookie deals in the first round.
I like him. I think that's the big thing is like you addressing the salary cap and who's doing what. I feel like the big deal is like you said, adding that piece. We kind of got a good 4. Maybe 3.
We got a really good core.
Yeah, but like we still need that extra piece.
I like. I'm gonna have a few names for you later on in this segment.
I figured you would.
But I said what I said because Amen Thompson ain't going nowhere.
I hope he's not.
He ain't going nowhere. He gonna be there next year, and the player that he's become from the beginning of the year to this point is significant. You know who else is? Cam Whitmore, who only represents like 5% of the overall salary cap.
Okay.
So Cam Whitmore and Amen Thompson are guys that I'm extremely excited about, especially given their young age and the way they look like dogs that rookie year.
I guess that's the perks of having a young team. I never really thought there's some perks, I guess.
Yeah, well, you have to see who stands out. You go through drafting all of these guys, and you don't put a star on the team there. You saw them pass on James Harden with a chance to bring him home.
Yeah, you know how I was about that. I was super torn. There was one day I'm like, yeah, we need him. Then the next day I'm like,
I think I was the same way, but I did understand in a rebuild like what we going through. If you start him over a guy like Fred VanVleet, or you don't get a guy like Fred VanVleet, then you're gonna have trouble setting the culture because a guy like Dylan Brooks won't have a voice where James Harden is.
Oh, of course.
In Houston, especially. Yeah. But and if you start him over Jalen Green, we don't see the Jalen Green we saw at the end of this season.
Exactly.
Is the bottom line. In fact, I don't know, the rumors of Harden's habits may be to the detriment of a young team like we have that would be more impressionable to older players that are successful, right?
Yeah, I agree.
So we saw them pass on these guys so that they could draft all these young guys and have them play together. You got to see who's who. You get a Şengün. You get a Green. You get a Jabari Smith Jr. who was about to go first overall until draft day.
Shoot that, Jabari.
Juniors,
bro, that's my guy too.
Hey,
yeah, man.
I was off on Jabari Smith Jr. for a good part of this season because I wanted a guy that was drafted in the top 3 who was supposed to go number 1 overall until the draft. I wanted to see a whole lot more from him, but then I realized he is growing. Yeah. You can't push the speed at which he's growing.
Yeah,
you know, especially
how young they are.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying like.
And he's in the starting lineup, which means there's a bit more pressure on him than there would be if he was coming off the bench for a veteran that had that spot locked down.
Yeah, 100%.
So as I go through these salaries, the big points here are Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün, our best players on the team, the best young players. These guys are now in the final year of their contracts. Since they are on rookie scale deals, the final year of their contracts are team options. So they'll be highly underpaid based on their production, but they are on the hook for extensions. If not this summer, immediately after re-signing or opting into their team option, it's going to be sometime during the season. So we got two guys who may be max players.
Yeah.
Now the max won't be super, super high because they didn't make all NBA teams, right? Which would put them in a different threshold. But the max would be like, I can see $28 million a year for both of these guys, right? What you think about that?
I was gonna say, when you think of, I know I love both of them, but keeping both of them, I feel like is it time to move somebody?
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because that's where I'm at with it, right? So during the season, there were rumors that the Rockets would be willing to come off of one of these guys for their big fish.
Yeah.
And there was rumors that I think I found they were true that the Rockets had offered Jalen Green in a trade, in a deal for the Nets, Mikal Bridges. And I would have loved that deal.
Oh, yeah.
I would have loved that deal because although Mikal Bridges ain't the offensive player that Jalen Green is,
Great on the defensive side.
Mikal Bridges can score,
Yeah.
and he got a voice. 27 years old.
Yeah.
He's the man over there in Brooklyn, and they didn't want to let him go. That's why we don't have him, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, what if you? That's why I'm taking notes from you, but packaging Fred VanVleet with the Jalen Green, putting a package deal and getting a really big fish.
Well, the thing about that is,
To help
Fred
his money.
VanVleet, I would love that, but Fred VanVleet's his salary is really high.
Exactly.
You know, you can package him with a Jalen Green,
To try to make
but
it more
his salary is real high. Now,
Yeah.
now he'll be easier to move if he plays one more season with us and he's on the last year of his deal because it means they can negotiate what he'll be worth after that deal.
Yeah.
Those deals are easier to move.
We need him to hoop though. We need him the ball.
But I'm okay with moving Jalen Green primarily because of the presence of Cam Whitmore.
Okay.
Cam Whitmore is 3 years younger and almost as good. Cam Whitmore is the man. I don't know how he keeps ending up in Ime Udoka's doghouse, how he don't get the minutes I think he's worth, but I trust Ime Udoka so much that I'm not even worried about it.
Maybe he's got a master plan. There's something that we don't know.
His stock has to be rising. If Ime Udoka notices he ain't the guy before other teams notice, then that means we'll trade him at a high price.
So you
but
saying,
for now,
so Green's movable, but no Şengün? We gotta keep him?
Well, I think you keep Şengün. I'm in favor of another player playing center and possibly moving him to the 4 with the possibility of having Jabari Smith Jr. play at 3, which I think he would excel at. He would excel at because there are smaller players than him at that position.
Yeah.
So I'm in favor of that. Or if we can get a big fish small forward, Jabari can be 6 man off the bench for all I care right now.
Like I'm Lou Will. Like I'm Lou Will. Come on, baby.
Now, to wrap this part up, there's a few guys that are coming off the books. Most of them for around $2 million. There's Boban Marjanovic, the big guy from those commercials. You know who I'm talking about? Big goofy looking dude. Boban. Everybody know Boban.
Okay. Everybody know, bro.
Aaron Holiday, one of the Holiday brothers, who I think had a decent season with us. He'll be off the books this next season, but there's a $2 million cap hit that we're being charged for right now. Reggie Bullock, Jermaine Samuels, Nate Hinton, and G. Nathan Williams. These are guys that will be off the books that will provide cap space to us when they clear waivers. Also, there was a guy I found on the roster named Jock Landale who has two more years plus a team option at $8 million, a flat rate each season. I can see a scenario where they get rid of him because that $8 million along with these guys that come off the books puts us back under the cap space threshold.
No, they be loving the way.